Race fans, it's time to buckle in and listen to the fastest hour in racing radio. Your driver is a multi-time NASCAR winner and Hall of Famer Mark Martin. We cover racing, grassroots, history, we bench race, we talk life, and most importantly, we smash the loud pedal. It's time to turn some laps on the Mark Martin Podcast.
Episode number 43 of the Mark Martin Podcast, and we're going to go into the years 2005 and 2006, but before we do that, of course, head on over to the website, markmartinpod.com, markmartinpod.com. Make sure to listen to all the old episodes. Click that connect link. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at markmartinpod. And, of course, listen on your favorite podcast player, available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and many more. But, Mark, 2005 and 2006, and we're going to get into last year of Viagra and then rolling into AAA sponsorship, but I'm sure you have many stories from those years.
To start with, I think I need to kind of set the stage for where my head was at this point in time. You know, you have to realize that we've been riding this wave of popularity and commercialism in the sport like you just can't really, if you didn't live it, you can't describe it. The stands were absolutely packed. There was tons of sponsors. Every sponsor was wanting to do promotions and appearances, and there was just a lot of hysteria going on. I mean, it was just the fans were all over the racetrack. When the race was over, you usually went in to the market on Thursday and did a personal appearance on Thursday for a sponsor or for the media or something, and then when the race was over on Sunday, it was a nightmare to get out of the races because there were so many people there. The traffic was so horrible. It was just a mad fight to get to the airplane and then get off the ground. Once you got off the ground and in the air, then I was headed home to Daytona Beach. But this had been wearing on me for a long time. If you listen to all the other ones, you kind of understand that, you know, I'm getting stressed and just weary of everything that we're doing, getting tired of being excused from every single thing, every family event, all the things that most people take for granted being able to do. I really wasn't able to do very much of that unless I was lucky enough for it to be on a Monday or a Wednesday, because usually on Tuesdays I either went to the shop for competition meetings or whatever, or I was doing personal appearances. And so this has just been a long grind, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Coupled with the frustration of not being able to ever get beyond 95% or 90 to 95% perfect program. We had that in 98. It seemed like damn near everything was perfect, but things change, and it was hard to keep people. People would always raid anytime you had a good team, a good tire changer, whatever. There was someone always trying to hire and would hire, your guys. We were constantly, every year we'd lose a prime helper, member of our team, and it was extremely hard and difficult to replace them because I told those stories of, budget limitations where the 6 car couldn't pay more for his tire changer than the 97 car, or the 99 car, or the 16 car, or whatever. which kept you sort of limited to mid-level people or developing new people, which always required the hope that they would someday get great and required you to suffer through their learning curve, which was miserable and cost you. So with all that being said, I've decided I'm done. And so I go to Jack and I tell him, 2005 was the end of my contract, and I told him that I was done racing Cup full time. I wouldn't mind doing some one-off races, but he wasn't really in a position to do those because he was running 5 teams at the time, and they had already dropped the number of teams that you could have to 4, but grandfathered him in since he already had 5. He didn't have to get rid of one. So there wasn't anybody interested at Roush's in talking about doing any one-off Cup races. The schedule that looked promising to me was a truck schedule, which was, I think it was 25 races. Now that's what I was looking for, and the less pressure and all that stuff. So Jack put me in a truck in 2005 to run part-time. I think I run, I'm just going to throw out there a number like 7 races or something like that with Mike Beam. He's putting all this together. And Mike was pretty incredible. And so that's where we were headed. Looked like I would probably do the truck series full time for Jack, with Mike Beam being my crew chief for 06. And then I could catch my breath and have a life. And so we start into 2005 race season. And if you look at the stats, one of the things you can always tell is how fast my car is by qualifying starting positions. If I've got a rocket ship of a car, those don't always translate into finishes, but if I've got a rocket ship of a car, the numbers are largely single-digit qualifying efforts. And in 2005, if you look at my qualifying efforts, there's probably only a fourth of them are probably single-digit qualifying efforts. And there's not even a pole the whole season, which was super uncommon. Even when I didn't run good, I would get a pole somewhere. But we had sporadic good runs, and I don't really recall, why we would have bad runs, but we had lots of top 5 finishes and quite a few top 10s, but we had a lot of top 5 finishes. But the problem was we'd have a couple of top 5s and a 30th, a top 5 and a 31st, a top 5 and a 20th, and a 16th and a 33rd, a top 5, and then a 15th and a 28th. I don't really recall, the exact races, but, we were very sporadic with our finishes. However, we had a lot of really nice runs, good runs, top 5 runs, and top 10 runs. And that kind of brings us to Kansas. So this is during the era where Ryan Newman has just totally been brutalizing the competition, winning pole after pole after pole and winning races and just killing everybody. And those guys really got on the soft springs, big bar soft spring setup way before. Well, they were the first ones to really get on it and perfect it. And they rode that wave for a long time. And I was slow to make that transition for multiple reasons. One was that it didn't seem like we could ever get enough clearance on our cars. They were always, cross members were always beating on the racetrack. And we just weren't quick to get on that. But we were, by 2005, we were on it pretty good and had it working pretty good. And so by the time that Kansas rolls around, the 30th race of the season, we qualified. I don't know why we qualified 19th at Kansas, but I'd been working with Pat Tryson now for several years, and I really loved Pat. Pat and I got along really, really, really good. He had a lot of respect for me, and I had a lot of respect for the work he did. His ethic on aerodynamics, aero downforce was really strong. And he was just the right fit for our program because he wasn't, he wasn't high profile, Ray Everham or Tommy Baldwin or one of those overpaid, as Jack would say, crew chiefs. He was a middle of the packer kind of guy that got a chance to come and work with us, and he won me some races and got me on track. So anyway, we're at Kansas, and I can't explain the qualifying part of it. Maybe it wasn't super fast in qualifying trim, but in race trim, this thing was crazy fast. It drove so effortlessly. It was unbelievable. It just drive right down, late arc into the corner, right down and hook the white line and just fly through there. And I just knew in practice. I mean, I'd come on in practice and just said, man, I see now how Ryan Newman does this to us all the time. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so obviously, long story short, in a race, it was the same thing. The car was just absolutely unbelievable. Rolled the corner like nothing I'd had in a long time. It wasn't one of those races where circumstances got us to win. We had them. And so we won the race. We won the race. We led about 140 laps of the race, which is a lot. It's probably half the race. So that was a big win for us because I was still thinking at the time that this was going to be my last season in Cup. Not to say that I wouldn't mind racing, here or there Cup races, but I wasn't going to race full time anymore. And so then we go on down, bring it on down to we run second at Texas right at the end of the race, the 34th race on the schedule. And then we go to Homestead for the last race. And we're really good there too. And I'm running dead on the bottom, and Biffle's running around the rim. And Biffle's leading the race. And I run Biffle down, and I just can't clear him. I can get right up beside him, but I can't clear him. And then his momentum on the straightaway pulls him ahead. And I make one on the white flag lap. I make one last effort down in 3 and 4 to rush across the bottom, and I do. And I come off right there side by side with him. And we come to the line, and he's probably beats me by 3 or 4 feet, but it's really, really, really close. And, at this time, I'm still thinking that I'm probably done cup racing. So it was a hell of a way to end it all up, winning Kansas a few weeks from the end of the season and running second at Homestead, side by side with Biffle, who won it. So that's pretty cool. But quickly what happens is, if I recall correctly, backing up to the next to last race was Phoenix. And my memory may not serve me correctly, but what I remember is Kurt had an altercation with a police officer or a sheriff or something at the Phoenix race, and pretty much showed his butt. And that was kind of like the last straw for Jack. He had been, really struggling with Kurt and Kurt's volatility. And Kurt always treated me with the utmost respect, was always fantastic. And I liked Kurt, but Kurt was a handful from a management standpoint for Jack and for some of the things that went on. And so they fired Kurt right on the spot. And so I had lobbied all year, Jack, to hire Jamie McMurray, because I really liked Jamie. I really thought a lot of Jamie, and I wanted Jamie to drive the 6 car when I got out of it. And Jack had never really hired a successful NASCAR driver before. He had always taken somebody and brought them up, like he did all the other guys, myself and Wally Dallenbach and Ted Musgrave and LePage and Chad Little and Jeff Burton and Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle, McKenzie, all these guys that he had never went out and really hired someone who had already was successful in NASCAR. But I wanted Jamie, and I pushed enough that they made the deal with Jamie. Problem was, Kurt leaves or gets fired, and now the 97 car is open. And of course, it has Crown Royal on it. And so the obvious logical thing for Jeff Smith, president of Roush Racing, and for Jack to do is to hire me, get me to stay, because they already had Jamie on board and they needed another driver. And for multiple reasons, me being in the 6 car made more sense than me going in the 97 car with Crown Royal on it. Since I didn't drink and hadn't drank, for God knows how many years. And I'd been in the 6 car since 1988. So they were, they had AAA in their pocket. AAA was very keen on me being the driver. So Jack and Jeff talked me into staying another year and doing the deal with AAA and going in 2006. So that's kind of, and delay the truck racing thing, going full-time truck racing. So we just planned that truck deal for 06 to be a limited schedule again, limited schedule with Mike Beam, the crew chief. I can't say enough about my relationship with Mike Beam. He was so incredibly smart. He was so good. He was so on top of his game and so calm, and he was just the right guy for me. It was just kind of a match made in heaven for me, and Beam. So we kind of put that on hold and looked forward to 06 and did the limited schedule there. And so we go into 06 and, I don't think anything at the time about a contract for the truck schedule, because I know who I'm dealing with, and I've got a lot of trust in Jack and Jeff and all that kind of thing. So I'm not really worrying about a contract, although we've talked about the numbers, and the numbers were sweet. It was going to be a good deal for me to go truck racing. The truck racing was very healthy at the time. Commercialism was strong in the sport. There were sponsors. There were plenty of sponsors paying good money. So, we head off to Daytona, and the truck thing is just incredible. I mean, we win at half of every race we enter. It's just obscene. We win at Daytona with the truck. I think we win Talladega. We win Bristol. I mean, we just win all over the place. Truck's incredible. So it gives me a lot to look forward to. Cup car, not so much. I mean, we run fair, decent. We run about like we ran in 05. We're more consistent than 05, but probably slightly not as fast. It's a little bit of a disappointing season from that standpoint. We ran a lot of finishes, in the teens to 20s, we get a good bit of top fives. I mean, we get 7 top fives and 15 top tens. That's not, that's off a good bit from even the year before. There's not anything really memorable about that season for me. We do what we do. We run pretty good, but the way we run doesn't meet my standards. And I'm starting to begin to believe that with my age, that I'm not quick enough in the cognitive sense to be able to do what I had done in my past. We had a good year in 05, but it wasn't really up to my standards. It was nice to win, nice to run second to Biffle by 2 or 3 feet in the very last race of the season. It's nice to run good, but we didn't. My performance has been off since, 2000. So for me, I had come to really doubt myself, and I felt like it was time. I needed to get away from the crowds and all the travel. I needed to have some time with my family. Matt, my son, had been racing, and he always raced, without me just about nearly all the time. And I just, I needed some time with my family, needed some time with my son and with Arlene. And so I was looking forward to a short schedule, a little bit more simple life. The second Dover race, my business manager since about 1994 was Benny Ertel. He come to work for me full time, I think in 94. Moved to Spruce Creek. I was living at Spruce Creek, Daytona Beach, and he moved down there. And so we shared an office during the week, and he and I were really, really close. And Benny was incredible. Benny made me a lot of money. He was a pretty special guy. A lot of people didn't like him. I wouldn't have liked him if I would have had to sit across the negotiating table with him. But he was very loyal to me, and he was very good to me, and he knew what my plan was. But he got to talking at the Dover race with Jay Fry, and basically Jay has big balls. Jay had come on board as my PR rep, Valvoline's PR rep. Valvoline's PR rep way long time ago. And he'd been the PR rep for years, come in, as a rookie in the NASCAR program and learned the ropes and became incredible. He was fantastic to work with. And then, of course, he moved on. And by this time, he was running MB2, the race team. He was like the general manager or whatever of MB2, and so he had come up the ladder a long way from a greenhorn in NASCAR as a Valvoline PR rep for the 6 car. And he and Benny concocted this idea that I could run 24 races, and the team, his car, the 1 car, could put a rookie driver in for the balance of the races and be grooming the next superstar rookie in the rest of the races. And having a veteran in the car would help, the team, help further the team. It would also help with the Army. U.S. Army was a sponsor that they had. Anyway, I'm elaborating a lot on it, but they came up with the idea, and Jay is just the kind of guy that just doesn't take no for an answer. Man, he makes stuff happen. Who would have ever thought that the Army would have gone for that rather than racing for a championship, But the Army's signed right up on it, and I hadn't had a contract. If I'd have been presented a contract prior to all of this starting to happen at Dover, the second race, which is 28th race of the season, I'd have signed the contract, and I would have been stuck racing the 6 truck full time, because that's what I wanted to do, because no one ever dreamed I could race Cup and do it on my terms and not have to chase points. Anyway, this is wrapping up 2006, and there's a lot more to the story, 2007 and 2008, which kind of run together. But I'm never presented a contract for the 2007 season by Roush, and I get an offer that I freaking can't refuse. That's freaking exciting, really exciting. Working with great people that really want us, a fantastic sponsor, and having a short schedule so that I could get on with my personal life. So as we wrap things up, and I think it's Talladega, the 30th race of the season there. I don't know what the date is, but I think that's where we make the announcement that I'm going to do that deal with Jay Fry and the 01 car. And I can tell you this, I had many for about a week, I couldn't sleep. I had sleepless nights. I was scared to death. I was heartbroken. I had to call Mike Beam and tell Mike, and I know Mike was heartbroken. I had to tell Mike Beam that, I wasn't going to be able to do the deal like we had planned. And there were just a lot of things that really nagged on me about that decision, but it was way too good of an opportunity to walk away from. I just felt like walking away from a 23-year association with Ford, and what Jack and I had done together was worth it. The opportunity that I had was worth it. And, the thought was, and, I felt like I had a guarantee, was that I could be a part of that program forever. As long as I wanted to be a part of that program, I could I could help develop drivers. I could be a part of the team, thing going forward when I didn't race anymore. I could be a consultant, be part of the program. So this just seemed like something I had to do. So, like I say, we made the decision, made the announcement. I got through the sleepless nights, and we finished up the 2006 season and wound it off with a bang. I think I won the truck race at Homestead, the last race of the season, which was real special to win it and be in victory lane with Jack. I've got picked photos of that, and I can actually remember how good that felt.
So looking at the year overall, 2005, let's go back to Viagra quick, and there was some special paint schemes that they ran. What did you think about that program? Was it pretty cool?
Yeah, of course, the coolest one of all is the orange and white, like my ASA cars were, my late models. That one was super special, but we did one that was Folgers. We did we did the All-Star race in a Valvoline looking scheme, and we managed to win that All-Star race, which was incredible. So, winning the All-Star race and winning Kansas was in 2005 was really a pretty outstanding season. It would have been nice if I could have finished off on that kind of note, but that All-Star race was real special because, the car said Viagra on it, but it looked like Valvoline, and it was so nostalgic, like when we won in 98 with the Valvoline car. And the 2005 All-Star race was really special to me because I'm not a big believer in drivers taking credit for making all the right moves, because every move you make on the racetrack, almost every one of them, is right or wrong based on what other people do. And you can't know what other people are going to do. So how can you be so damn smart? And they always talk about on speedway racing, this guy did this brilliant move and all that stuff. Well, it wouldn't have been brilliant if the other guy didn't go that way. It wouldn't have been brilliant at all. So I'm not taking credit on making all the smart moves, but I'll tell you this, our car was decent in the All-Star race, but that car could have been beat super easy. Every move I made in that race worked like it was the right one. Every time I passed somebody, every time I stayed in line and waited when I had a shot to go, it all was right. And I was so proud after that race because I felt like my driving actually won me that race and not my car. And I wasn't used to that. I was always used to feeling like my car won me the races. And that's where I always had put my emphasis on. So the 2005 All-Star, and I paid $1 million.
2005 and 6 was also the end of the IROC series, and you wrapped that up. Tell us a little bit about wrapping up the IROC series, and officially you were the 5-time champion at the end of that run.
If I recall correctly, 2006 was the last year they ran, and I think Tony Stewart won that championship. I think I won the IROC championship, the 5th one in 2005, and that paid $1 million, and that was a lot, and that was big. Compiling these big paydays was special because I knew I wasn't going to be seeing any big paydays again in my lifetime. That's what I thought I knew. And to be able to win the championship, IROC championship in 2005 was unbelievable. The crown jewel of my racing career was IROC series, really, and what I was able to accomplish was absolutely unbelievable.
So wrapping up 2005 and 2006, kind of an end of an era, going to be done at Roush Racing, and then you're going to move on to a new team in 2007. We're going to get to that in the next episode of the Mark Martin Podcast. But again, this has been episode number 43, 2005 and 2006 of the Mark Martin Podcast.
Thank you for subscribing and listening to the Mark Martin Podcast. Remember to give us a 5-star rating in your app store. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mark Martin POD. The Mark Martin Podcast is a production of the Accelerated Podcast Network.